All right, how's it going, guys? So I have you starting with an activity at the beginning of the week, and you can do this one in pairs. I would definitely do it in pairs. I definitely group think because it'll make it a little bit easier, and you should have some of these some clue and some of them no clue, and that's kind of the point. So what we're doing this week is to kind of finish off our ideas of matter to begin with. We're going to take a look at the difference between a chemical change and the physical change, right? So before I actually talk about it, and you'll have a video later on this week, I want you to think about it. And so I put together this activity where you're going to have to do some digital drawings on here, and I'll show you that, and then and come up with look at some drawings that I did, and tell me how they work. Okay. And so some of this we already talked about last week, like these pre-lab questions, right? So I want you to come up with, what do you think? I don't need a Googled answer. I want to know what you and your mate think about the difference between a chemical change and a physical change, right? And then I want you to redraw. And so for these ones, I want you to talk about, the movement, the patterns, the energy or whatever of solids. And I want you to show what they look like in these boxes. And so when you do that, if I click on it and I go to edit, right, you could go in here and you can, well, hopefully you can copy paste different things and then save it, and then whatever you save it as. So we'll probably do some more things like that this year, because then I can get you to draw in the live session, and it'll show up right here, and that's good. So I want you to draw and talk about a solid, liquid, and gas, right, of just atoms, right? And then you're going to take a look at oxygen gas as O2, and what does that look like? Okay. But the real deal, so that's just kind of getting us to back into that idea of, atoms and what do solids, liquids, and gases look like versus, oops, no, that's not what I want. What we're going to do is once we get through the pre-lab, the new stuff is all about taking a look at some pictures, and I'll show you those in a second, right? And your main goal is, when I show you the pictures of these at the particle level, you're trying to look at it close enough to determine whether it's a physical or a chemical change, right? And that's just based on your definition, with the goal at the end is like you're kind of coming up with the definition of those. Before we talk about it, we're going to talk about it later this week, and I don't want a Google definition. I want you to look at it and know and come up with the idea of, at the atomic level, how are these things working? Because you're going to look at a reaction I do later, and you're going to see the cool things that happen, but those don't matter if we can't kind of picture in our head what's going on, underneath this veil of chemistry. Okay. So what I want you to think of, I want you to think about the difference between atoms, molecules, and mixtures, right? And how they're arranged both before and after, right? And I have pictures of both those. Then think about what you know about, like, the bonding that we talked about last week, versus how mixtures are kind of set up. And then once you do that, and that's going to go right here. So you take a look at the pictures, the one or two of the befores, and then the one or two afters, okay? And describe those. Think about, is it atoms, molecules, mixtures? Is it solid, liquids, or gases? All those different ways that we can describe matter, okay? And then tell me, all right, is it a physical change or is it a chemical change? And then I want you to defend your answer by just describing what is the change you saw, right? And hopefully as you do that, you're going to start to see a trend, okay? And that trend later on is going to be what you do down here. And you give me your definition based on what you saw of a physical change, and your definition, one sentence answer, of a chemical change. And really what these should be is, you saw these in all of them, not just some of them, right? Which is kind of hard. You saw this trend in all of them, okay? And it should go from there. And then from there, and I'll show you the picture in a second, and then from there, all of the things I'm showing you are actually real world things. And so I give you a short description of what they are, and then you just pick out which is which, right? So there's an A through an I, and you're like, oh, okay, this one, when I read it, this represents A, and this one represents B, and this one represents C. So it's pretty easy. You and your partner can do that. And then we're going to finish with, did you really learn what I asked you to learn, by taking a look at two different, one is a physical and one is a chemical. And so you're going to take a look at this, and you're going to tell me if it's physical or chemical or why. And then you're going to show me what that physical versus chemical would look like, and be very particular about your drawings, right? So again, you're going to click on this, you're going to edit what I have in there and put in the things that you need. Same thing with down here, right? So you got the same questions with just two different scenarios that I want you to take a look at. All right, but let's go take a quick look at the pictures that I have for you. Okay, so here's what you got. You can look at these cards, and I would, you know, maybe present them so you can really blow them up. And so, you know, you have A, you know, so this is A. So here's your before, and this is what happens after. You know, so talk about, what do you see in this picture, right? Is that an element compound mixture? Do you think it's a solid, liquid, or a gas, right? Because that'll help frame it. You know, same thing with down here. Then when we put them together, what do you see right here? Is this a solid, liquid, or gas? Is this a mixture? Is this a compound? Did we see, you know, what type of change did we see happen? Okay, and you got a B, and you got a C, and you got a D, and an E, and an F, and a G, right? And an H, and an I. Okay, and so in all of these, some are physical, some are chemical, and the point is you're going to look at them closely enough with your buddy, and you're going to come up with what it is I'm trying to show you, right? So I'm showing you, I'm drawing the particles this week, at least for these first ones, and you're coming in here with the ability to try to defend your decision based on what you saw, right? Based on how you're trying to define your change, okay? So do that, have fun with it. That's our opening activity for this week, and then I'm going to make one more video for you later on that kind of sums it all up, brings it all together. All right.